Peace and Black Power. Peace and Black Power. This is Underground Warrior TV. If this is your first time coming into my channel, make sure you mash up those likes. Mash up the likes. Share the video and come in. Subscribing to this hot channel. Make sure you come in subscribing to the channel. What's going on, Black family? What's going on? I'm back. I'm Black at y'all with another video. I had to come back with this type of video right here because this has constantly been on my mind and I got to release it. You know, I got to release what's on my mind to the peoples. Anytime the ancestors put something heavy on my mind, I got to come give it to the people, you know, whether they like it or not, you know, whether I get views, whether I get likes or not, you know, they back hating on me, you know. The needle moves a little bit, it'll move right back. It's like some unstoppable evil shit going on every time I start to drop one of these videos. You know what I'm saying? Notifications, you know what I'm saying? Stop getting sent out. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm getting all kind of weird things going on with my YouTube page. A bunch of weird things going on with my YouTube page. I know I'm underrated and I don't pay for subscribers like a lot of YouTubers pay for subscribers. I'm doing it from the gutter. I'm doing it from the ground up, you know, so I can appreciate my art, how I come, you know. I come different than everybody else. But if you listen to what I'm saying, I ain't doing it but telling you what I see, you know. I ain't telling you nothing but the truth. I'm not trying to sugarcoat nothing. That ain't, you're not gonna get that on this channel. You know, when I spit, I'm telling you how it is. Raw and uncut, the truth gon' hurt. The truth is gon' hurt anytime I pull the covers off the wicked. It gets more wicked. You know, you just got to pay attention to what's going on in the world. You know, they got Donald Trump. They got Donald Trump in the news as far as being indicted out of New York. That's a fucking distraction. He's not going to jail. He's not going to prison. That's something to keep your mind focused on that while they doing this over here with these proxy wars being fought in Ukraine and Sudan. Your very government that you vote for is behind these proxy wars. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, your American government, the people that you vote for, that you have faith in, Black people, we should have faith in ourselves. Quit putting our faith in the hands of our enemies who do not have faith in us and always gonna hate us. That's just their fucking nature. You feel what I'm saying? Now, what Negro gonna come to the aid of America because she losing her prestiges? This video is for the nigga who did believe that his slave master would someday lose power. They want to get your mind occupied on Trump. Keep your mind occupied on sports. I love sports. Basketball, football, boxing. Football, my number one love. But at the same token, I'm paying attention to what's going on around me. You feel what I'm saying? That's why it wasn't cut out for me to play football. I was a good football player. I thought about playing on Sunday. But due to my condition, living in the gutter, I wanted my money and my fortune right then and there at that particular time. I'm talking about there back in the day when I was a youngster. You know, I chose the life of crime to make money. sold dope, steal, all that kind of street stuff. You feel what I'm saying? But I hate I got involved with that street life. That street life cost me half my life locked up behind bars inside the belly of the beast. Any fool bragging about being in prison is a slave. Any fool who brags about being locked up inside the white man's slave castle is a motherfucker slave. Ain't nothing slick about going to the penitentiary. I'm chasing the pipe dream, y'all. Want to be the mob. I want to get paid selling dope. Yeah. But anyway, the United States government set dilemmas up for us in the ghetto to take an avenue like that. And that's my excuse. That's my fucking excuse. The white man's abuse towards my community had me chasing that pipe dream of want to sell dope for a living. You feel what I'm saying? The bully, America. You Negroes who love America, you the Indians now. You're not African. America's Egypt. How the fuck America's Egypt, huh? Cause three white men, Andrew Jackson being one of them, in the late 1800s, visit Egypt. Kemet is the ancient name, but they visit Egypt. Three white men, one of them being a judge and a general, one being a Nashville judge and a general, and one being Andrew Jackson, who names Tennessee Memphis after the city and our great ancient Egyptian civilization. There's a city in Egypt called Memphis. When these Europeans visit Egypt, they was appalled. That's what I want to say. They was appalled by the magnificent structures, dynamic civilization that they came up on. The great grandeur of something they ain't never seen ever in their life. These were African Egyptians who built this civilization. Three white men. Comes back to the United States after visiting Egypt. These white Masons, Andrew Jackson being one of them, came back and named Memphis, Tennessee. That's how Memphis get its name, from the white Masons. And then the white Masons made the Mississippi River their Nile Valley, like the Nile Valley in Egypt. And you Negroes run around taking this Masonic information because of these white men's journey to Egypt was astounding to them. They was influenced and inspired by the great, magnificent structures in Egypt. They went back and named Mississippi their Nile Valley after the Nile Valley in Egypt. Europeans have always been influenced by our great Kemetic ancestors, the African Kemites. You call them the Egyptians. Egyptian is a Greek name. Egypt is a Greek name for you Negroes who haven't studied. These Negroes have not studied. I hit one of those Negroes, Indian wannabe niggas. I said, man, Egypt is a Greek name. He said, prove it. He didn't even know that Egypt is Greek. That lets you know that these Negroes don't study you Cherokee Negroes. But that great beast flag that you represent, the red and white and blue flag, the great powers, the might of the United States government, the eagle, the strongest nation in the world, is about to be one of the weakest nations in the world. I'm talking to you Negroes who believe in the might and power of the white man. The white man is losing power. China wants to be a super world power in the world. It wants to rule as spokesman for the world. It wants to rule as world leaders, prominent world leaders, to be looked up to like the United States. The United States want to be number one. The American dollar is the strongest currency in the world. It's now about to be the weakest currency in the world. But Negroes, you believed in the might and the power of your slave master. And I'm glad to be living in this time and day to watch the power delinquish. The power is relinquished. You niggas thinking delinquish about the power of America. She losing the power. You feel me? 4.1% of the world's population is white America, NATO. They represent 4.1% of the world's population. And over here in the Western world, their grounds do not produce like the African soil. Everybody needs Africa. See, these Negroes don't do no studying. They just run around here talking about they Indians. And America's grounds is worth more than the African soil. The Africans don't need anything but themselves. The Africans put themselves in this position because of these wicked leaders that they put in power in Africa. But Africa is now pushing back with real live presidents who want to do for the people, who don't need European investment, don't need European loans. You feel what I'm saying? So America, NATO, her allies only represent 4.1% of the world's population. China is the super world power. She is the super new world power. This is the fall of great American Negroes. You believed in this white man. You believed in this European Negro. Now we are watching the great harlot that sets on the water, which is the great bitch that done my people wrong for 400 years. We watching this white man that y'all believed in, this white Jesus that y'all believed in, sink like the motherfucking Titanic. The white man is losing power around the world. Chinese, the China administration is about to show America what time it is. China, 17.5% of the world's population, opposed to 4.1% of America's population. So in numbers, America losing in numbers. This is the end of the white man. China the number one trading partners of the world. They trade with everybody. We watching the Chinese though, but we like what the Chinese doing in certain parts of Africa. But the Chinese bring along some underlying things. And them things will be like what? Trying to play the Africans. So we got to watch the Chinese. But the Chinese is bringing infrastructure to Africa, closing off the United States, who bring criticism about human rights as it relates to the LGBTQ or the homosexuality agenda of the white world, is word about Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya, South Africa, and different parts of Africa. Kamala Harris goes on an African trip around the world, 7 African country trip to Africa to talk about homosexuality, knowing that if you pay attention to the culture of the African people, they do not practice homosexuality. It's seen as a crime in the African culture. You cannot practice that in certain cultures in Africa. That started with the Roman culture, Roman Greeks. I'm not capping on white people, but if you go back and look at Romans and Greeks, that was accepted in their day. Homosexuality is a white man's culture. It's his culture, but not African culture. And I'm not capping. You could go and Google Wikipedia about homosexuality in Rome and Greece. This is not me attacking white folks. Sorry about that, y'all. It's not about me attacking white folks. It's not about me attacking white folks. It's the prominent truth. So, China's the number one trade partner in the world. There was a politician, Robert Blackwell, the 20th United States ambassador to India, who worked with the United States government during the, I believe, the Bush administration. Yeah, the Bush that went into Iraq. That devil. This Blackwell individual did a lot of traveling to different parts of the world, and he warned that China would surpass America. He said that in 2015, the China rise is a threat to the American preeminence. He predicted this. The government of America hires certain people to do research and study and come back and report the findings. Okay. The council report of number 72, you can Google that, March 2015, by Robert D. Blackwell and Ashley Tellis, who also worked with the government doing a lot of research. In fact, he was head of the Teta Chair's strategic affairs for the United States to Asia. He's coming back, giving the report to Bush and the American people, not the American people of the world, not the American people, I mean, for us, the American people like us, but giving it to the American people who is part of the establishment. You feel me? We just pawns. we bottom feeders. A lot of people don't want to, look at that. You're a bottom feeder, especially when the government feeds you so much hogwash and you believe everything they say. You don't count. You ain't got that kind of money. You're not in the big club. You feel what I'm saying? So that's what I meant. But anyway, y'all, Robert Blackwell actually tell us these particular people, politicians, been warned in the United States of the situation. Now, check this out. Now you got BRICS. The acronym BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. These are the countries who's forming this currency. And I've been telling people this. They're telling me it's not happening. You're a conspiracy theorist. But listen, y'all. I just told y'all the war in Sudan and the war in Ukraine, your government is behind what you see. And this is why most nations around the world are closing off its borders to the United States. No one wants to deal with the United States. Only people deal with the United States is the evil people who's down with the United States, and that's their allies. I told you, Negroes, but you laughed at me. You love America so much. You love the evil that she do. When we point out the evil that America does, you call us conspiracy theorists. You feel what I'm saying? But I'm going to give you a video. And this is the end of my presentation, but I'm going to leave you with a tight video. Mash up the likes. Y'all share this video. Don't go nowhere. Stay tuned to this video right here. This is going to give you some enlightenment on what I was talking about. I'm leaving you with a video. I'm leaving my people with a video. I love y'all. My black melanated people, I love you no matter where you at. I'm leaving you with a video to show and prove what I'm talking about. It's going to coincide what I was talking about. This is the fall of America. This video is called The Fall of America. Y'all mash up the likes, share this video, and y'all stay tuned to this video that's coming up. Peace and Black Power. Peace.
This video presentation is used as fair use as a disclaimer for educational purpose only. All instrumental music is used as fair use for educational purpose only as a disclaimer.
It's a crucial topic, and as President Xi Jinping said in that meeting with Macron, it is a historic watershed that the world is living through right now. What China is after, if we view it from China's perspective, is what was also said, true multilateralism. And what that means, or true multipolarity, another term that they use. And that means they don't want a US-led world. They want a multipolar world. And the basis of that is that the United States is 4.1% of the world population. China is 17.5% of the world population. China's economy is comparable to the US economy, and indeed China is the lead trade partner for much of the world. So China is saying, we're there too, alongside you. We want a multipolar world. We don't want a US-led world. And while the United States sometimes talks about a rule-based order. The fact of the matter is that the U.S. grand strategy, if we can use that term of the grand strategists of the U.S. State, see our grand strategy in the United States as being dominance. And I often refer to an article that I think is very clear, succinct, and revealing by a former colleague of mine at Harvard University, Robert Blackwell, an esteemed ambassador of the United States, who wrote in 2015, and I'll quote from the article, "Since its founding, the United States has consistently pursued a grand strategy focused on acquiring and maintaining preeminent power over various rivals, first on the North American continent, then in the Western Hemisphere, and finally globally." Well, China doesn't want the United States to be the preeminent power. It wants to live alongside the United States. Blackwell, writing in 2015, said China's rise is a threat to U.S. preeminence. And he laid out a series of steps that the Biden administration actually is following almost step by step. What Blackwell laid out already back in 2015 is that the United States should create, quote, new preferential trading arrangements among U.S. friends and allies to increase their mutual gains through instruments that consciously exclude China. There should be a technology control regime to block China's strategic capabilities, a buildup of, quote, power political capacities of U.S. friends and allies on China's periphery, and strengthen U.S. military forces along the Asian rimland despite any Chinese opposition. This has become the Biden foreign policy. China knows it. China really is pushing back. But what's very important and interesting to understand, and we've seen it clearly in the dynamics involving the Ukraine war, most of the world also does not want the U.S. as the global preeminent power. Most of the world wants a multipolar world and is therefore not lined up behind the United States sanctions on Russia and so forth. And this was also the message of President Lula visiting China, saying to President Xi Jinping, we as Brazil also want multipolarity, true multipolarity, and we want peace, for example, in the Russian-Ukraine war that is based on not a U.S. perception of dominance, say NATO enlargement, but rather a peace that reflects a multipolar world. This is real. It's happening all over the world. And the fact of the matter is, the reason why this is a historic watershed is that the underlying economics and technological change have made it so the U.S. is no longer the dominant world economy, and the G7, which is the U.S., Canada, Britain, France, Italy, Germany, and Japan, is actually smaller than the BRICS countries in economic size, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So we really are, in fact, in a multipolar world, but in ideology, we're in a conflict. In ideology, we're in a conflict.
But Jeffrey Sachs, I wanted to ask about that. You mentioned the BRICS. The BRICS Bank that is now in China, and President Lula has named Dilma Rousseff as the head of the BRICS Bank. Its importance in terms of this multipolarity in the world economies, the potential for even the creation of alternative major currencies to the dollar as a result of the BRICS alliance, the impact of that on world affairs.
This is a big deal. And in fact, the United States is withdrawing. It doesn't know it necessarily. Our politicians don't understand this. But our politicians are withdrawing from the world financial and monetary scene and opening up the space for a completely different kind of international finance. I'll give you an example. The U.S. was the creator of the World Bank, but now the U.S. Congress won't put new money into the World Bank. And because of that, the World Bank's actually a quite small institution. It's got a big name, but it's a quite small institution in the financial scheme of things. The U.S. won't put more money in. The Congress says, no, why should we waste our money internationally and so forth? And you get a lot of hubbub about that. So China and the rest of the BRICS say, okay, we'll make our own development bank. And they established the new development bank, or sometimes called the BRICS Bank, based in Shanghai. And that's just one of the institutions that is really changing the scene. There's the Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, based in Beijing, in fact. There is, as President Lula said, and it's happening also in the context of the Ukraine war, a move away from the use of the dollar, which the United States has thought, well, that's our ace in the hole. You know, that is our ultimate hold on things, because we can use sanctions, we can use our financial control to keep other countries in line. But other countries are saying, not so much. We'll trade in renminbi, we'll trade in rubles, we'll trade in rupees, we'll trade in our own national currencies. And they're quickly setting up alternative institutions to do this. The United States doubles down. We will confiscate your reserves. We will, if you don't follow. And the other countries are saying, you know, if you want to go through a few words, the core of this issue that most of our media dare not explain to the American people, and that is the expansion of NATO. This is a war fundamentally about the U.S. attempt to expand a U.S. military alliance to Ukraine and to Georgia. Georgia is a country in the Caucasus, also on the Black Sea. The U.S. strategy, going back decades, has been to surround Russia in the Black Sea, with Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, and Georgia, all NATO members surrounding Russia and its naval fleet in the Black Sea, with a naval fleet that has been the Black Sea naval fleet of Russia since 1783. Russia has said, this is our red line. And it has said that for decades. And it said this clearly in 2007, before George W. Bush Jr. had I'll call it the harebrained idea to announce in 2008 and force NATO to announce that Ukraine will be a member of NATO. And this is what President Lula was saying, and what President Xi Jinping of China has been saying. We can't have a war that is essentially a proxy war between Russia and the United States over the expansion of the U.S. military alliance right up to a 1,200 kilometer and more border with Russia, which Russia views, and I would say understandably views, as a fundamental national security threat to Russia. Keep some space, keep some distance. That's President Lula's meaning. That's what China means when it says in its peace plan, we want a peace plan that respects the security interests of all parties. What that is code word for saying, make peace, end the war, but don't expand NATO right up to the border. The American people have not heard an explanation of this all along. It's shocking to me because as a close observer of this for 30 years, this has been the casus belli. And yet our newspapers won't even report the background to this. But this is why China, South Africa, India, Brazil are saying we want peace, but we don't want NATO expansion as the meaning of so-called peace. We want the big superpowers to give each other some space and some distance so that the world isn't on a knife edge. That's exactly what President Lula was saying, and it's exactly what the meaning of the Chinese peace initiative is to say, yes, absolutely make peace, protect Ukraine's sovereignty and its security, but no to NATO expansion. But the Biden administration won't even discuss this issue. That has been the major failing and the reason why we have not been able to get to the negotiating table, in my opinion. Even when Zelensky said in March 2022, maybe not NATO, maybe something else, Russia and Ukraine were close to an agreement, and the United States intervened with Ukraine and said, we don't think that's a good agreement, because the U.S. neocons, so-called, have been pushing for NATO enlargement as the core of this issue. But